Rose Valland's assistant curator at the Jeune de Pomme Museum. She's like, you know what I know? Art. Then all of a sudden, there, boom, Nazis everywhere. They took over the museum like, this our spot. This where we gonna be at. Right? She's like, oh shoot, it's Germans everywhere. And what they doing is robbing the French Jews. And now they storing all this stolen art up in there. And you know why? You know why? Do you know why? Let me tell you why. Because Hitler was like a proclaimed artist. And he tried to get into this school, he was denied because he couldn't stay in the lines. He told his boys, y'all go out there and y'all get all the artwork. Now, if it's German art, it's good. But if it ain't German art, burn that shit up. Different people that worked under Hitler would show up to the museum often. Like his main man, his name was Hermann Göring, right? Now, Herman, you know, he's so ratchet. He be like, give me, that's the best. Run me that. Run me that right there. Ooh, that's nice. Hey, give me something to drink. Bring me some champagne up in here while I'm in here picking the best art. And Rose would be like, I don't know why these are here. He's so lazy. Why you even want to tell me where you stole it from? Do you know who I am? I'ma tell everybody. December 1944, James Rorimer shows up trying to holler at Rose. Rose, I know you know everything. I need you to give me all the information that you have. Where are all the treasures? She's like, I don't know you like that. Who is you? He's like, I'm James Rorimer. I'm with the Monuments Men. Now, these was a collection of men and women who went out to save the existence of their culture. Rose, she was dope. She was like, boom, I got these addresses right here. Check this out. They would stop trains. They would go to salt mines. They was knocking people out. Some people died, some people lived, but the art was saved. She saved like over 60,000 pieces of culture. She's a heroine.
Our story begins in the year 1963. Gloria Steinem was a graduate of Smith College. Very smart. She's 28 years old, and she's a journalist. And Show Magazine was like, hey, Gloria, we have a story for you. We want you to go undercover at one of Hugh Hefner's Playboy clubs. And Playboy clubs were advertising themselves at the time as like being in a real live version of Playboy. So you would have like beautiful women everywhere and drinks and food and dude stuff.
Yeah.
Boobies and vaginas. And Gloria was like, I don't think this is what I want. I want people to take me seriously. And her editor was like, I think this could be your chance to call Hugh Hefner out on his goddamn bullshit. And she was like, you're right, I'm in, let's do it. She's working all these shifts and she's like, in her journal, she's writing all these injustices. They're like working these long hours, they're not making any money. On top of that, it's basically a prostitution ring. And after working in the Playboy clubs for 4 weeks, Gloria was like, this shit, I have enough in my journal, I'm gonna publish this shit, I'm out. It's just all this stupid, sexist, dumbass bullshit. She just wanted to get the out. And so she quit. And so Gloria writes an expose on these Playboy clubs. She's like, these women were like not making as much money as they were told they were gonna make. It's insane hours. They're being grabbed all the time. They're treated like prostitutes. They're basically being used as a tool for the male sexual revolution. But the women themselves don't get to own their sexuality. And that's shitty. So they publish the story in the magazine. So the world reads this article, and to his very tiny credit, Hugh Hefner says, wow, yeah, maybe they won't have to go to these physical exams anymore. And you know what? I'm gonna stop making them have to give so much of their money to us if they make a mistake, which is like a really cool thing that Hugh Hefner did. But also not as cool as just like always treating them that way.
So our story starts in England. There is a suffragette protest led by Emmeline Pankhurst. And she's like, oi, listen, women, we need the right to vote. So if these men aren't gonna give us the right to vote, then we're just gonna have to take it, right? And they're rowdy as obviously, because they're like ready for this. So the Metropolitan Police are like, listen, these women wanna step out of line, but we're gonna show them who's boss. They start grabbing women, twisting their arms, pulling on their breasts. Can you imagine?
Putting on their breasts?
Pulling, not pudding.
Oh, okay. Putting on their breasts, I didn't know.
So the fight turns completely nasty. 2 women got killed. One was Emmeline Pankhurst's sister. So she's like, oh no, like, you killed my sister, I'm f***ing coming for you. So Emmeline Pankhurst goes to Edith Garrud, this 4'11" woman who runs a jiu-jitsu school. And Emmeline is like, Edith, I need your help. These police are acting wild. We need to help train these suffragettes so that they can defend themselves against the police. So Edith put together 30 suffragettes, and she's like, we're gonna call you the bodyguard. So she's going out to Glasgow for this huge talk at St. Andrew's Hall, and the bodyguard are standing by the stage, and there's like beautiful bouquets behind them. And Emmeline strides over to the stage, and she's like, we need to fight and we need to do all this stuff. And then the Scottish police, they're like, let's play that bitch's tits like a bagpipe. And the bodyguard are like, oh, hold on a minute, you're not playing anyone's titties like a bagpipe, not today. And they flipping them onto the bouquets of flowers. And obviously you might think, oh, well, what's that gonna do? That's gonna make them smell nice and maybe get a tiny bit wet because of the flowers. And no, there's barbed wire concealed in all the flowers. She's like, oh, you like titties? You know what is also a titty? Barbed wire. And he goes, I don't get it. And she goes, it doesn't make any f***ing sense. You just got barbed wired. And they go buck wild. They start grabbing police officers, just flipping them over, doing all their f***ing jiu-jitsu moves, all the grappling and flipping and all this stuff. And that's the great thing about jiu-jitsu, is that it's not about your size. But there's a lot more police than there are the bodyguard, and they arrest all the women. But Emmeline knew she was gonna be arrested. She even said, if I'm not arrested, if I continue to evade the police officers, I make them look like a f***ing joke, right? However, if I am arrested, I will turn sympathy towards the suffragette movement, because I'm a martyr at that point. Like, I'm f***ing Joan of Arc in this bitch. And that's exactly what happened. There was like rallying support for the suffragette movement. All of a sudden, all these men were like, oh yeah, why not? Let's give you the right to vote. It's really the least we can do anyway.
Ida Tarbell's story begins in 1872. Her father, Franklin Tarbell, was an oilman, and a young Ida Tarbell is seeing her father being absolutely bullied by robber baron J.D. Rockefeller. So Rockefeller is going through all of the Northeast, just buying out all these small little refineries. So Franklin Tarbell's like, not happening, bro. Ida is like, nah. She's like, nah. She's like, nah, son. Rockefeller's like, Mr. Tarbell, I'm gonna make things very difficult for you. But Franklin Tarbell, he stood there proud. Oh, I'm gonna get a f***ing belch on deck right now.
Get on that.
Excuse me. There's gonna be plenty more where that came from. Rockefeller's going to all these railroad owners saying like, hey man, if you charge me less for more oil, which I could bring you, all these little dudes who could bring you less oil, f them over, and in the long run, they sell to Uncle Rockefeller. He ends up owning 85% of the oil. This made Rockefeller the richest man in the world. Franklin's like, f***ing Rockefeller, he boned us all. We'll never eat again. My whole livelihood is shot because of this guy. Poor Ida is watching this all happen around her, and like, if you're watching that, you're watching the superhero origin story. Like, this is where young Ida Tarbell, holding in one hand a Barbie doll, in the other hand a pen. Well, I know what I need to do. So she ends up publishing a 19-piece article called The History of Standard Oil. People are reading this going like, has anyone caught that McClure's thing about that J.D. Rockefeller dude we were all worshiping for so long? Turns out, might be a bit of a scumbag. Upon further investigation, I think this dude is bad news. He's a bad hombre. Her little article Well, that's the most misogynistic thing you could do is call a woman's article a little article, in quotes. No, she writes a f***ing article that President Teddy Roosevelt reads, and he's like, has anyone else been reading this Ida Tarbell series? This f***ing Rockefeller guy's f***ing me with his monopoly. Guys, I've been working on this thing called like the Sherman Antitrust Act. Feel like it might work in this situation. Teddy, you bring up a couple of valid points. We could do something about this. So in 1911, the Supreme Court says that the monopoly of Standard Oil is illegal, and you must break down into two companies.